All right, I think we are live. We are 21 minutes late, so I apologize. Fashionably late.
Fashionably.
This is Scott Hardesty, frequent guest of the Breakdown here. We'll get into that in a minute. It's Monday, February 19th. I want to just preface that Snapchat might actually be dead now. Their servers crashed last night, so every couple of weeks we like to just remind people that Snapchat's slowly dying. And today's going to be an awesome show. We have Eli Crane here today. No relation to me. He's the better Crane. Eli is a Navy SEAL, or was a former Navy SEAL, and he's the founder of Bottle Breacher along with his wife. Incredible product, incredible line, incredible story. So stay tuned today for the breakdown. All right. So Scott Hardesty is here. Eli, we have Eli Skyped in, so I just want to introduce the two of them. Scott, Eli, Scott. Why don't you tell him about what you do?
I'm a 26-year Army veteran, former Army Ranger, and I developed a nutritional line called Ranger Nutrition just because there's a bunch of stuff out there that's junk, doesn't taste good, so I made all my stuff made in the USA, made it military grade, basically stuff that I wish I could have taken while I was active duty. And it's going well.
That's awesome, man.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Yeah, so Scott, he's been around for like a year and a half probably.
Here?
Yeah, like hanging out at the
I just show up
exactly.
like all the time.
So he's like the resident guy that just shows up. No, Scott's great. Thank you for being here today, Scott. Mm-hmm. What's new in your life, by the way?
What's going on with Ranger? We're fostering a dog.
Don't you?
Oh, you're talking about with Ranger Nutrition.
Yeah.
There's some speaking engagements that I got coming up, mm-hmm. and we're doing some film footage for something that could potentially be big for us. So 2018 is going to be a good year, or it's not. I mean, one of the two.
It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. What's been going on with you? You wearing rouge makeup now, or?
Yeah, I got a little half-face sunburn going.
Yeah, it works for you.
That's it.
Okay.
So anyway, to Eli. Eli, thank you so much for joining us today. I was wanting to take a little bit of time for your background. I don't want to tell your story, so what
is
your story?
Bottle Breacher.
What's Bottle Breacher?
And why did you make it?
Yeah, so Bottle Breacher is a made-in-the-USA veteran-owned company. We started it in a one-car garage in San Diego while I was still active duty. I was a BBSS instructor for Trade 1 in San Diego, basically teaching guys how to take down ships. And at nights, I would work on this project. Some people call it a side hustle. And basically, I would just handle production. My wife and my partner in crime, she would handle marketing. And so, the financial side of Bottle Breacher. So we teamed up. We were basically just trying to figure out how we were going to provide for our two daughters when we got out of the military because I knew I was getting out. I didn't have the intestinal fortitude to do 26 like your boy Scott did there. So hats off to you, Scott, for doing that for 26 years, man. That's impressive, dude. But anyway, knew that, I wanted to get out, wanted to open a new chapter of my life. And so, Bottle Breacher quickly gained traction. And originally I started it to make $500 additional supplemental income every month, and quickly within 6 months we were doing about $7,500 a month just because the product was just badass, and my buddies loved it and everybody else loved it. And then it kept growing and growing and growing, and we went on that show to Shark Tank. At the same time I was getting out of the military. I got out in October. Our episode aired November 7th. It was a Veterans Day special for Shark Tank, and we went from doing about a projected $1 million in our second year out of the one-car garage. The very next year we did $5 million in gross sales. So it was phenomenal, a phenomenal blessing for us. We got to hire about 35 Americans. We got to pump millions of dollars back into the economy. And in a way, the service just changed. I got to serve the country in a new way, and that was by hiring Americans and supporting the national economy and also being an advocate for veteran causes. And that's one of the reasons we came up with this new shirt, Long Live the Veteran Brotherhood. just because regardless of whether you served in the Rangers like old Scotty did or whether you served in the Marine Corps like my buddy over here, Mike, did, it doesn't matter. I mean, we all come from, the same community. We all are on the same team, and we just want to do whatever we can to help other vets who are trying to make the transition like we did.
Quick question. You mentioned Shark Tank, and I find that very interesting. What was one of the things that you wish someone would have told you, like before you went on to Shark Tank? Because you went on a long time ago, right? When Shark Tank was kind of new.
Yeah, so we went on, and it wasn't super new. It was season 6, so I mean they've been doing it for a while, but there's definitely some things I wish I would have known prior to going on the show. I wish I would have known, how busy the Sharks actually are, how many companies they had, how much time they were able to allocate to each one of their companies. It's that whole saying that you don't know what you don't know what you don't know. And going back, I wouldn't change it for sure. I would still go back and make the same deal that I did. But, the Sharks are extremely busy individuals. They've got families just like we do. They've got, and then like the rest of us, they've only got 24 hours in the day. So that's something that, I wish I would have known beforehand.
It's incredible.
Well, I'm just going to keep using his bottle breacher to just keep opening up these beers for no reason at all. I don't think anybody's going to drink them, but it's fun to play with.
Hey, no beer is safe, guys. No beer is
safe. No is safe, not with one of these.
I want to talk about the early days of bottle breacher. So your goal was $500 supplemental, and then that went quick. 6 months later, $7,500 a month supplemental income, just passive.
And then something real cool that I wanted to give you the short version, but a month and a half later, we were doing $22,000 a month out of that one-car garage, and the reason is because I sold the liability, my 2004 Big Dog K9 chopper, and I bought our first laser engraver. And what that gave us the ability to do is it gave us the ability to personalize these and get into the wedding market. So, 6 years ago while I was in the teams, if you would have told me I was ever going to be in the wedding market, I would have told you were absolutely nuts. Mm-hmm. But that's what it allowed us to do, and it really opened my eyes. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that go from the hobby phase to the, no BS. This is what I'm going to do, full-time work phase, and that's when the light bulb came on for me that, hey, this is going to be a lot more than supplemental income. We can provide for our family and grow something special out of this.
It's like a dream situation. How do you go? All right, I'm confused. So, all right.
Well, it sounds like
how do you make
fast?
Yeah. How did you? Well, one, you came up with an idea, a bottle opener out of a 50 cal round. How do you go and start making them? How many a day were you doing? And then at what point, all right, Christine, we're drinking here today. We're drinking here.
I'm just opening these up.
Grapefruit shandy.
We're going to use these things. We have them.
Scott's like, what do I do with my hands?
Exactly. I know, right? Yeah, you got to give me something to do. I don't know why they keep letting me on the show, really. I don't. I have no idea.
So, all right, how do you just made a prototype and started selling them. Who were you selling them to? What were the early days like?
Right, so in the SEAL teams, and I'm sure Scott has some similar stories of this in the Rangers, but we have a saying, it's called crawl, walk, run. Mm-hmm. And it's so important. I mean, when you see TV commercials or whatever of Navy SEALs taking down a ship, they're fast roping out of a helicopter at night and going and hit live targets with role players and breach scenes and all sorts of stuff. That stuff just doesn't happen day one, week one. Mm-hmm. When you start the training block, you crawl, then you walk, then you run. The first scenarios you run, your crawl scenarios are during the daylight. They're not with full kit. You really slow things down so that guys can get a feel for what they're doing. And I've taken the same approach to business. So when I started this, bottle breacher thing, I was making each one by hand with a Dremel tool. I was making the cut with the Dremel tool, spray painting them, putting stickers on them, and I would only buy 10 at a time. I wanted to make sure I could sell those first 10 before I went to the walk or the run phase. And so that's called, some people in the business world call that growing organically, but that's how we've always done it here. We've crawled, we've walked, we've run, and, we don't really buy stuff unless we can pay for it.
So then you did your, with Ranger Nutrition, I've done it debt free.
If you're coming from active duty, and
mm-hmm. Oh, he's cutting.
That's a good way to do it.
All right, we lost you for 10 seconds there, but the gist I assume was you're minimizing risk. You're still working, doing this as a side hustle, which is like something that, we at Bunker, we kind of preach is don't go quit your job, start doing something right, and hopefully if you do it right for long enough, it'll lead to you being able to leave your job. What are you going to do with these?
I'm gonna share them.
I
don't drink beer. I'm just opening them.
And then you went from that. You said you sold your motorcycle to buy an engraver. What was like the what were you doing pre-Shark Tank? Because we've had some previous guests come on and say like they went on and then next day their orders, they get like a 200,000 orders placed or something, and then it's like I wasn't quite ready for this. How do you go from 2-car garage or 1-car garage to scaling to 35 employees? What was that like? How did you improve your process? What was that like?
Right. It was actually really difficult for us. Actually, one of the Shark Tank updates we did was based on this. We got hit with a mountain of sales. We did 1 million sales in the first week after Shark Tank. We had about 60,000 orders the morning we woke up after that. We had about 20,000 emails that we had to answer from our customers. And anybody that does their own stuff, their own manufacturing or their own customer service understands you don't make that jump overnight. It was brutal, but this is why in the military we talk about keeping that 30,000 foot view perspective at all times. Sometimes when you're in just a total shitstorm like that, it's so easy to get sucked into the problems. And in the military, we would say get front sight focused, like just get so focused on production that you completely drop customer service, or get so focused on customer service that you completely drop accounting and whether or not you're even profitable. And so the only way we were able to get out of that situation was to basically in many ways forget everything we knew and attack the problem from so many different angles and really contingency plan. Well, hey, what if we mix this up? No longer did we have the luxury of saying that, oh, this is how we've always done this, because how we've always done it wasn't working anymore. So we had to really be creative, think outside the box, and we had to come up with new technologies. We had to come up with new fixturing. We had to come up with new SOPs or standard operating procedures to figure out how the hell are we going to increase production by 10x a day. And that's what we did. And unfortunately, I wish I could tell you I figured it out right off the bat, but it actually took me about 2.5 months, of trying this, testing that, trying that, changing this up until we finally figured out the formula. And so anybody that has gone through something like that will tell you that, it's actually a blessing in disguise a lot of times when you get put way outside of your comfort zone and thrown into the deep end, especially in a team unit, because you have no choice but to come through it together as a unit. And when you do something like that, it just makes you a hell of a lot stronger and just so much more prepared for anything that'll come at you. And so I consider it a blessing, even though it was painful at the time. And I'm just thankful that we overcame it as a company.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm just opening these.
So it sounds like it's great. Like some of my questions I have written down here, how do you apply your military experience to starting your own business? And it sounds like you're answering these questions before I can even ask them.
Actually, I have one. Because you were talking about the crawl, walk, run method, and that's my thing. I totally understand that. But did you have like, well, when we're doing something, we kind of already have like an SOP set up. So did you have like a mentor that kind of showed you some of the ropes, like, hey, this is what we need to do? Or were you writing these SOPs up on the fly on what was actually working for you, or were you getting mentorship from somebody else?
We were getting some mentorship, and the mentorship that we got was pretty good, but it was just general broad strokes because our mentors had never owned a manufacturing company. They'd never made stuff in the USA. So, a lot of the stuff that they were giving us was more, broad stroke advice, things to look out for, lessons learned. But a lot of the stuff we were really, no kidding, having to, come up with on the fly. And there weren't a lot of companies at the time doing what we were doing. And so it really did take us being creative and thinking outside the box. And, when you're in a leadership position like that, the last thing you want to do is be prideful and be like, you know what? It's got to be my idea. No, man, you got to listen. You got to sit everybody down, be like, guys, this is what we're dealing with. Who's got ideas? And if your idea is better than mine, I hope your idea is better than mine, so that we can do this in the most efficient, cost-effective way. and we can be the best that we can be, and that's what we had to do.
How do I become like you? Like how do I I don't know, motivate myself, I guess. I mean, it's like I was reading
I think you
online
need these. I think you need more of these.
Need a couple of those cold ones that Scott keeps opening.
Oh, and
There
we're
you
moving
go.
on.
And they're getting
They're just
passed
kind
out.
of just way over
Do you
here.
even drink?
No, I don't actually.
I thought.
I do, but it's foo drinks. This is beer. I don't do beer.
Okay.
That's too manly.
Look at this. Scott's got to keep that figure, man.
That's
Come
true.
on, look at that figure, dude.
You know what? I'm only renting these with the option to purchase.
All right, so if you were to give what one piece of advice, I guess, for some early stage, veteran startup, what would be some good advice that you could give somebody who's right now going through a program of ours or somewhere, and they're right on the cusp of starting a business?
Right. I think there's a couple great ones, and like every other great entrepreneur, or I'm not even a great entrepreneur, I'm probably a pretty average one, but I've cherry picked from a lot of much better entrepreneurs. I've taken their advice and I've tried to adopt it as my own. I would say one of the first things is follow the green, not the dream. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mark Cuban said that in his book before he was ever an investor at Ball Breacher, and it's so true. A lot of times, the first business I ever started never paid the bills, and had I kept chasing that and tried to follow the dream, I would never be here today making the green and in my own way now. Living my own dream. And so I think it's important that we understand what it takes to prove your concept, and that means what does it take to get people to open their wallets, part with that hard-earned green paper, that plastic, and buy your actual product. So many entrepreneurs fail to do this early and often, and that's why you see a lot of entrepreneurs going under all day, every day, because the number one thing that takes entrepreneurs out is 95% of us run out of cash. We run out of cash. So it's important that you follow the green, not the dream. If it's not, and this is where resilience comes into place, which in my opinion is the most important characteristic trait of an entrepreneur, is you have to be resilient. You're probably not going to be right your first time. You might not be right your second time, but what you're really trying to do is you're trying to build your own lessons learned, and you're trying to build your own Rolodex of connections and people that understand marketing, people that understand accounting, people that understand manufacturing. And as you're running your ideas to ground and fleshing them out, you can be building up that Rolodex. And so if you say, hey, you know what, this just isn't working, I've given this 24 months, it's not working, I'm going to roll all of this knowledge, all these lessons learned, and this Rolodex into the next idea. That's the type of mentality that you're going to need to be successful as an entrepreneur. So we got follow the green, not the dream. And like I talked about resiliency, the other one is you only have to be right one time. That's right. You only have to be right one time. Just keep that in mind, because you're gonna realize why the attrition rate is so high when you start a business. You're gonna realize why it's even higher than Navy SEAL training, higher than Ranger training. It's 95% for a reason, because it's extremely difficult. And if you have that resiliency, if you realize, if you look at failure from a different lens, and as in, these are just lessons that I'm learning and not I'm a failure, I don't belong here, that's going to go a long way in helping you to become successful.
It's incredible advice.
Yeah, that is good advice. So is that? Do I see freedom? Do I see a freedom flag in the background there? I've seen it. They're popping. These things have been popping up. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think I saw an ad where you said, some shipping places don't want to ship them.
That's true. We actually we
put them in your carry-on.
Yeah, travel with them.
We've been dealing with some of the major shipping companies in the U.S. that are not too happy about that product.
Yeah.
And we can understand why, but still at the end of the day, it's a bottle opener. It's inert. It's safe. It's not going to hurt anybody. But I get it. I'm getting in touch with my sensitive side.
These things are addictive, right?
You're insane, man. So every week we like to go around and talk about hacks. So things that tools and resources we use that are free and effective, cheap, that make starting a business easier, make productivity easier or more efficient. Is there anything that you use on a day-to-day basis? Like a book you're reading, a podcast you like, a web tool, Google Chrome extension, anything at all that you use that other entrepreneurs can go out and check out?
You know what? This one is going to be off the wall, and like, I don't know. I doubt you've ever heard it on your show before, but I actually read the Bible every day, man.
All right.
I find that there's a lot of solid wisdom in the Bible. Like if you read the book of Proverbs, the whole book is about Proverbs. Not only does the Bible, talk about wisdom, but it talks about how to treat other people. And I feel like so much of business anyway is how you deal with other people, how you treat other people. And, rolling into, one of my biggest hacks is learning to understand people and learning what motivates people and how do I take somebody, bring them onto my team and, take my weaknesses and then, take their strengths and, completely trump my weaknesses because they're now a part of what I'm trying to do. And so, those are a couple things that I'm all about. And I like I said, I doubt you've ever heard that one before, but hey, if I'm going to be real and authentic with you, that's definitely something that is important to me and something I do every day.
It's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
And I couldn't even open up a bottle while he was talking about that. I mean, he just didn't. I was just like, I'm going to hold off. And
So a complete waste of beers, man. We're a struggling nonprofit.
You're a struggling nonprofit, but these were donated.
Scott, what's your hack?
My hack. You probably think that watching this that I am the hack, but I would say that I actually like a small app on my phone called Photoshop CC. Whenever you're doing some marketing stuff like that, it makes it real easy to put overlays on it. You can make the picture look better because trust me, unless we edit a photo of me, it's not pretty. So we have to edit and use filters and stuff like that. And then
what's it called, Scott? What's that called? All right, down.
Nice pen.
It's Photoshop CC. Oh yeah, I know he's got the pen too. Yeah,
You got anything to market over here?
he has all kinds of stuff.
What's it called?
Photoshop CC. I have to take a look at my phone actually, make sure that's right. I might have just told you wrong, but we'll put it in the. Well, I'd have to go leave to see. I don't know where my phone is, but we'll put it in the links, like underneath the video, to make sure. But I find it very useful, especially when I'm traveling. So.
And don't forget to pick up your Ranger Nutrition Whey Protein when you're using your Photoshop CC.
No, one thing you might like is Ranger Candy.
What is this turning into?
All right, I named it Ranger Candy. It's a recovery drink, and somebody opened it up and they go, "I thought this was going to be filled with Motrin," right? Because that's what we called it back in the day.
I don't know.
I need more
Air
beers to
Force is
open.
a little different.
Yeah, the Air Force would be different.
All right, cool. My hack is, this is the last week I'm pushing this out there, is Amazon Web Services servers, free servers for veterans in the Bunker Labs network. If you want $5,000 in free servers, which is 2 years of credits, message me on the Bunker Labs app. So download the app. My name is Will Crane, if you don't know it or not. We're not related, by the way. Yeah, look at camera one. Thanks, Kai. Download the Bunker Labs app, message me, and I can hook you up with some free servers for 2 years. So,
And that LinkedIn,
cool.
that whole professional.
That's next week.
Nope, never mind then.
So next
All right.
week we are going to have Dan Savage on here, who actually went to West Point with Kirby.
You never tell me anything.
Yeah, so next week Dan Savage, who's from LinkedIn, will be joining us to talk about some of the benefits that LinkedIn provides veterans. So on that note, Eli, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can we find out more about Long Live the Veteran Brotherhood?
All right, so that T-shirt is going to launch on the 10th, I believe, of next month. We're getting together some key influencers. Maybe we can even hit up old Scott here, see if he do a video for us, basically talking just about what the Brotherhood means to them and what they're doing to support it. And that's kind of what we want to do, just support one another and quit isolating ourselves, quit going off into a corner of the earth and doing our own thing and really looking back and seeing how we can continue to support one another. So that's going to be on www.bottlebreacher.com probably here in a week and a half or so. And, we hope that the veteran community, gets behind it, the product, but more importantly than the product, the message.
Do you have that shirt in medium, small medium? Because that's the only size I wear.
We do.
Awesome, Eli. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Smells like freedom.
All right, have a good one.
Later.
Bye.
Cool. I think we're good.
Are we totally done?